Is that special coffee?
It's a triple espresso.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Good for our inaugural podcast here at IQ Podcast with an S. I'm really excited to be launching this podcast here this morning, The Greater Good, in with sponsorship from the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation and lots of my good friends who are interested in what it is that we're doing here. So to launch this program, I looked at my contact list, which is pretty vast, and I thought, who's one of the more exciting people I know who not only does good things during the day, during that person's job, but also gives back to the community in meaningful and emotional, passionate ways. And the very first person that I thought of was Dr. Sean Daneshmand. And he was gracious enough to find time in his extraordinarily busy schedule, especially right now. And he can talk a little bit more about what his schedule is normally like here in just a minute. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sean Daneshmand.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's an honor to be with you today. I appreciate the time you take to speak to me. Thank you.
Well, this is great. So you have lots of names. People call you Dr. Shahram Deshmand. They call you Sean Deshmand. They call you Uncle Sean. They call you Dr. D. I mean, what's your favorite of all names?
I think Dr. D is probably the easiest. It's the simplest. Maybe for the audience. I was born in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana, but my parents are both Iranians, and I
Mm-hmm.
lived in that country for about 6 years. When I was 4 years old, I moved from Houston to Iran, and at that time, prior to the revolution, for those of you who are old enough to know, it was a magnificent country. And then, unfortunately, the country went back 10,000 years. So people here, it's easier to call me Dr. D probably. So that's my probably the my preference. But anything is fine.
Just so they call you, right?
I know, exactly. As long as at least I'm needed, for something, that's good. That's a good feeling. So call me anything you want.
Just don't call me in the middle of the night. Although in your work, and maybe you could tell us just a little bit about what it is you do during the day.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. So I'm a perinatologist, which is a maternal, also known as a maternal fetal medicine specialist. So when we graduate from medical school, obviously people go into different specialties. I chose OBGYN. That's a 4-year program. And then after that, there are different fellowships and after residency that you can enter into. One of them is maternal fetal medicine, which is high risk pregnancy. So we're basically consultants to obstetricians, to family practitioners, to midwives with anything that's complicated with a pregnancy. So if it's a maternal indication, such as mom has high blood pressure, mom has a stroke, mom has cancer. If it's a fetal indication, for example, a congenital abnormality or a chromosome abnormality, that's when they contact us. On a routine day, for example, today I'm seeing 3 patients at every 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, where we do extensive fetal imaging. So we're doing an
Mhm.
ultrasound on their babies, and the resolution and for ultrasounds have improved dramatically since my days when I was training at UCLA. Back then we could just make the head and the long bones and the femur length and look at the fluid, but now we can do a very extensive, detailed fetal survey at a very early gestational age. By 3 months, we can look at the baby from head to toe and be able to have a good assessment as to how that baby looks, including the fetal heart, which is amazing. So
That's
that's what I'm
incredible.
doing today. Yeah, thank you so much. It's
So
an honor.
obviously, during the pandemic, the medical profession's been stressed to the extreme. How has that affected the health of your patients?
It's an excellent question. I mean, I think there's more, time will tell even more. But I know one of the areas that Jeff, you and I have talked about in the past as well is the area of perinatal mood disorders and just overall mental health. One of the areas that I'm very passionate about is making sure that, moms or women during pregnancy and immediately after their pregnancy, they are given adequate access to mental health specialists. And that's something we're really lacking in, unfortunately, in the country as a whole, but mostly in California. About 20% of women experience postpartum depression or anxiety. And that's just, I think it's, now with COVID and with this pandemic, I think that the numbers are significantly, most likely higher. The isolation and also just the fear of getting infected and what that does to the pregnancy, because there's a lot of unknowns, I think has been very challenging. So I think
So the
women are
stress
coming.
on the mother then translates to stress on the child or the baby.
Absolutely, because the environment is very important. As you know, a lot of diseases are based on both genetic, our genes, what's been handed down to us, and also our environment. And the mom is the environment for that child. And we know that if a mom has got untreated depression or anxiety, there's data now to support this, that these children later on have other psychosocial issues, developing in school. And so it's very important for us to be able to address any kind of depression, anxiety, stress with a mom. And that's, I think, one of the things that we're going to see more and more of as time goes by, to see the impact of COVID, not only just in a clinical way, but also I think from a mental health perspective as well.
So I've had the pleasure of meeting at least one of your patients, and I've seen pictures of some of the others as they've grown up, and they still have this connection to you. In fact, many of them call you Uncle Sean. You reach out to these people for years and years after their birth, which, in my estimation, is really incredible. How does that come about with a man with your schedule? It's just incredibly busy.
Honestly, I get emotional when you say that. I mean, I want to cry, seriously. Um, a nerve there. Uh, Jeff, as you know, pregnancy is a very raw and real experience. It's a moment where women will do anything for their children, even when that child is the size of a peanut. Even if you haven't seen even a heartbeat yet. So it's really just an incredible moment, and moment to be a part of someone's life experience. And probably one of the things that just altered and changed the chemistry in my small brain was, after I finished, fellowship, and I was starting private practice, a couple of years into it, I was doing an ultrasound on a mom that had a baby with spina bifida. And we knew that this baby is going to be paralyzed from the waist down. And the way this woman basically carried herself and the questions she was asking, this is the second time I was seeing her, and how she handled the room, because there were family members in the room. It was basically the wake up moment for me, where it was the aha moment that I realized that every woman, every family, every mom loves their children the same way, regardless of where we come from, the amount of money we have, our religious beliefs, our political views. We all love our children the same way. And that was the turnkey moment in my life where I realized we have to work much more closely together to build a better future for our children. And why aren't we doing that? And so, and that was the catalyst for, again, making sure that, when I'm speaking to patients as an obstetrician, I'm not just talking about, okay, now you need to do your diabetes screen, you need to check your blood count, we need to do this, but also talking to them about raising this child. Because that's when you start talking to the couple about, it's not just about, raising a kid, you're raising a future parent, and how important it is to not sweat the little stuff, how important it is for you to communicate well, and your behavior, the behavior that you portray in front of that child is what that child takes in and translates that into his or her life in the future. So, that was the catalyst, and that's how my small nonprofit was developed, and I started having yearly walks, and families that could support the nonprofit in any way, whether it was volunteer work or monetary support or just engaging in giving advice. Every year I was seeing these children now coming to the walk, for example, with the parents, and I could see them growing up, and it's just an incredible experience. So
Yeah.
my teachers have been my patients. And so I
What
am
is
here
the
because
name
of
of
them.
that foundation that you formed?
The name of the foundation is Miracle Babies, and it's a nonprofit that supports families by transportation, making sure that women and their families are able to see their newborns in the ICU. So many of these moms, if you take a walk through a neonatal intensive care unit, that's like the ICU for children that have after birth have whether they're premature or they have congenital abnormalities like a heart defect and require surgery. It's just the ICU version for these newborns. If you take a walk through any of these NICUs, you'll see a lot of full beds. You'll see very few parents there. And in 2009, we started this organization. We had a walk. 3 months later, we raised $33,000, and we started handing out money to families. In 2020, we started transportation, because when we started asking our patients what they use the money for, they use it mainly for gas, parking, and transportation. Gas, parking, and transportation. And that's when we said, okay, we're going to now turn this into actually really a transportation service, aside from the other small things that we do, which are miracle hours for the family. So now we make sure that a mom is united with her sick child. A mom that has a sick baby in the NICU, this mom delivers at 24 weeks, 25 weeks, 26 weeks. Last night, we delivered a baby at 27 weeks. This baby weighs about 2 pounds, just shy of 2 pounds. This mom needs to be with that sick child. And so, because there's a lot of benefits for that child, including mom. So, and that's what we do.
Well, this is a subject that's very near and dear to me. Both of my children were born 10 weeks premature, and we're right at that 2 pound level that you're talking about. But this was, of course, decades ago. And of course, the healthcare was excellent for that time. But today it's really advanced dramatically. So you and I have met just recently, in the last couple of months through a mutual friend. And we had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. And you were immediately engaged because of some of the work that we're doing at Perkins K-8 school in the Barrio Logan. And in fact, you presented to my board of directors just a few weeks ago a program. Maybe you could talk to the listeners just a little bit about your program that you presented to our board.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah, I have to tell you, you've been a gift in my life. I'm so thankful to have met you. And again, thanks for having me on. Well, my dear friend, I think, we work much more, we're much stronger together when we work together. And it's incredible when you have like-minded people communicating with one another with the common end goal. And our common end goal, as we talked about earlier, is to make sure that all children really do well and become valuable and independent, members in our society. And so, one of the programs that we have, I love the work you're doing with the San Diego Harbor Police. I mean, just incredible, incredible work. And part of if I can just give a quick history of how we got here. Sure. I had a patient with triplets. Sorry about that, my phone dropped. We had a patient with triplets, and every year we try to do something, volunteer at an organization to give back. And I asked my patient, I want to really give back to a school, because I feel like in the next chapter in my life, as I'm in my 50s now, is really with academia and education. I think we can do a lot more. We can help a lot more once we're involved with education. So, and I asked her, where do you think I should, put our resources towards? And she said, what about my children's school? And it was Perkins Elementary. And that's when I contacted the principal of the school, who you know very well, Fernando Hernandez, who's an amazing man. I went to the school and I got a tour of the facility. And there are certain times you meet people, and one of them, you are one of those people who I met when I met Fernando, and he was giving me the tour and I was listening to him. He was not just the principal. He was an advocate for these children. He was serious about the work he was doing. Yeah. He didn't just talk about academics. He talked about mental health and what these children are going through now during this pandemic, because as you know, 37% of these children are homeless. So one of the areas that we really wanted to help with, because your foundation is helping Perkins Elementary, was getting involved with one of the catalysts for success for these children. And as we all know, reading proficiency is extremely important for success in academia years. If one child has not met a certain standard of reading, and there are different standards, one of them here in California we use is called the DRA. If they haven't met a certain standard by kindergarten, first, second, third grade, these children will struggle academically when you associate this with poverty, unfortunately, and poverty is a catalyst a lot of times um, to hindrance for success, um, then a third of these children don't graduate from high school. And so one of the programs we are starting together is a program called Teachers Rule, and Rule stands for, it's spelled RUL, stands for respect, unity, and love. Because again, children need to learn how to be respectful to all living creatures. We need to be united in making sure our children do well, and there needs to be love and compassion. So it's a program where we are getting volunteered and paid tutors to address reading proficiency at Perkins Elementary and the latter stages of first graders, second and third and fourth graders. Perkins Elementary, as you know, also has a grant for a licensed clinical social worker, because again, mental health is extremely important for these children, where there's a licensed clinical social worker who can address, other issues. And this, I think, is just a catalyst. It's just the start of something much bigger, where we can help with these children learn how to read better, reading comprehension, and hopefully in the future be able to provide them with more services so that they can actually not stay behind.
Well, that's a great overview of that program. So just to kind of highlight a couple of things, if people are interested in volunteering for this program, they can go to our website at www.sdharborpolicefoundation.org and then click on the volunteering link, which will then allow you to sign up to become a volunteer and manage your schedules and all of that important things. And to put sort of a fine point to what Dr. D is telling us here, prior to the pandemic, the second, third, and fourth graders at Perkins K-8's reading comprehension rates were right around 81, 82%. Today, they're in the low 40s. And so, like Dr. D is saying, those children will have a very difficult time moving forward in life if we can't get those reading comprehension rates back up to normal. These children are reading at kindergarten and first grade levels, and they're in the second, third, and fourth grade. So, whatever we can do as a community, we want to do that. So if the people that are listening to this podcast are interested, please feel free to reach out to us either on our website, or they can email me directly at sdharborpolicefoundation@gmail.com. So, Dr. D, you have had a wonderful life. I mean, you've worked hard, you've accomplished many things. You're very involved in the community. What was it about what you were doing that caused you to want to reach out and be a part of what I call the greater good?
I think going back to that first story that I told you about how that patient just moved me. I think innately we all love children. Jeff, whether someone has a child or not, we all just love children. And so my passion has been, again, listening to my patients. They've been my teachers, and I just want to make sure that every child really has the chance, a fair chance to do well. And it requires, we can't save everyone, but I think there are certain things that each one of us can do in our own small way that can make a difference. So, I love people, and I know you're a people lover as well. And look, I mean, I'm not doing anything, to be honest with you, that earth-shattering. I wish I could do more, and that's what my intention is. But my passion, my brain thrives on this kind of stuff, and I know yours does too. I remember when I asked you about this, you're like, do you want me to give you the answer now, whether we can do this together? I thrive on this. I love it. And and I love helping people because I think there's so much, we get so much out of it ourselves, right? It's medicine for my soul. And so I think, thank you for saying these things. I think that there's so much more that we have to do. I'm not satisfied. And I think part of, the people that work with me are always maybe a little bit upset with me because every time I say we need to do this, this, and that, they always remind me, well, Dr. D, we've done a lot. We've done this, we've done that. It's just not enough yet, right? We have to do so much because there's so many people that need our help. I mean, just take a look at our society. We have so much homelessness. We have so many children in foster care. There are children going to bed hungry at night. Here in San Diego, Jeff, we listened to Fernando Hernandez at Perkins Elementary. God, 40% of these children are homeless. And, the school was their home. And so we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of work. So for me, my thrill and excitement and the energy is built on meeting people, mutual people like yourself and others that are listening to this podcast, because that gets me going. That inspires me. It's like, let's go.
Well, just talking about it is great, but doing something about it is where it really happens. And when I first met you, and like I said, it was really just a couple of short months ago. Since that time, we have moved the needle dramatically as it relates to this Teachers Rule program. But let me back up just a second, Dr. D, about your Miracle Babies Foundation. If people were interested in supporting that on your walks and your other programs, how would they reach out?
Thank you so much. They can go to our website at www.miraclebabies.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We have chapters in San Diego and Orange County, Los Angeles, and also we're at Northside Hospital in Atlanta. We also have a chapter in Tijuana, Mexico at the General Hospital. It's a separate nonprofit with its own tax exemption in Mexico. But again, I had 10 former patients of mine from Mexico. We started Miracle Babies there. We built out the NICU and the General Hospital there that does more than 10,000 deliveries in that facility by itself each year. We built out the NICU from 8 beds to 22 beds, and we also built an operating room inside the NICU there where children can have surgery, newborns can have surgery right there rather than having to go to the adult section, after gunshot wounds or stab wounds and things like that. And or you can reach out to me directly, through our website as well. We have a walk coming up on August 15th. We just had a wonderful fundraiser on May 5th in Los Angeles, benefiting the families at CHLA, Children's Hospital Los Angeles. It was called Breakfast on Rodeo, and we had about 80 people and raised about $76,000. Again, helping with transportation services to these families. Any way people can get involved, we love it. Again, like you mentioned, it's so many people have told us, I want to help, right? But people are busy. The ones that are interested in this is a passion for them, women and children. They realize the importance of how important it is for a child to be with a mom to be with their sick child, right? To give breast milk to that child, to hold that child. To the voice of that mom for that child is really important. It's not just a feel-good thing. There's something called epigenetics, and I'm sure probably many people have heard of this. Epi means on top of the genes. Again, genetics and our environmental exposure. The environmental exposure to that child that's very vulnerable is so important for that child's well-being, not only as a newborn, but also at the age of 50, 60, 70. So, and the DNA, our DNA, the function of our DNA can change depending on the environmental influences. The younger we are, the more impressionable our DNA is. So a child that's born prematurely, like your children did, or a child that's born with a congenital abnormality that's in the ICU and is not there because mom can't afford to be there. Mom has one car, or the husband is deployed and mom only has a car, has other children and can't afford daycare. That mom needs to be with that child because, again, not only is it important for that immediate period, but the benefits of the mind, body, all that impacts the child's health later on. And there's data to support this. So I know I can talk forever about this, but we would welcome any kind of help.
Well, you're so humble. When I first met you, you just sort of casually mentioned this Miracle Babies, a nonprofit that you have, and now here you're revealing to us today that it's pretty much everywhere. I mean, you are a force to be reckoned with,
Oh,
and you define what I consider to be part of the greater good, just because not only are you extraordinarily busy as a physician and a person who gives life, you give back in the most meaningful, boots on the ground way. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate just knowing you as a person, and then secondarily for having this opportunity to explore and exploit, the wondrous things that you have proposed to our foundation, and the things that you've done with your Miracle Babies program, and then what you do every single day when you wake up in the morning or the middle of the night and you deliver these at-risk children. So
Jeff,
congratulations to you.
thank you so much. Feelings are mutual about you, my dear friend. I hope we can work together more and more, and do more good things together. Like we said, this is just the beginning of what we're doing at Perkins Elementary. I also, you know, want you to know that just talking to you gives me energy. It inspires me. I know you're serious about the work you're doing. You're the one who keeps it moving forward. So I really appreciate you, and thank you for all the nice things you said about me. I love you dearly. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, it's mutual. So just a side note, one of your former patients and their child, Scotty, she has joined our forces here with the Teachers Rule program, and she is also a force to be reckoned with. I mean, this
She's a
this
force to be
young
reckoned
woman, she has already lined up 25 volunteers. These are high school students that are on a career path to college, and they're already signed up, and they're going to have their first training at Perkins K-8 with Principal Hernandez on the 15th and the 20th. We've got two trainings that will take place at 3:30. So they'll get the materials and how the school wants these tutors to be appropriately understanding what it needs to be in order to communicate with these kids who are, they're in a tough spot. These children, they're food insecure, like you mentioned. They've got homelessness issues. They're either couch surfing or living occasionally with relatives or in a car or Father Joe's or Alpha Project, any number of these wonderful organizations that are stressed to the max. They have wait lists, for these shelters right now. There's just really nowhere for these kids and their parents to go. And then, of course, you throw on top of that burden lack of employment. So, one of the things we have been able to do at Perkins K-8 is we worked an arrangement with the Jacobs Cushman Food Bank, and we do have a food pantry that we provide food to the kids through that relationship with Jim Flores over there. And then, we have upgraded some of the classrooms, especially in the special ed department. They have 4 classrooms there. So we spent some time and resources to give these children a better learning environment. And then we have one other program that I'm not even sure that you and I have spoken about yet, Dr. D, is that we're calling it a party with a purpose. And we're going to be installing adaptive active learning equipment in this special room at Perkins and 3 other schools within our jurisdiction. As you know, the Port of San Diego has the jurisdiction for San Diego, National City, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, and Coronado because of the tidelands that they own that property. So we're going to go after 4 of those schools and upgrade or basically install this really interesting adaptive learning equipment. So it with motion, it's easier for children to learn, as you know. And so that's a program that we're going to be launching. Well, it's already launched. We're out within our community looking for support. We've selected the schools that we're going to be installing this equipment. So just one more element that we're trying to add to a difficult situation.
Oh, that's excellent. I'd love to hear more about that and learn more about it. That's phenomenal, Jeff. And going back to what you said about Alexis, just an incredible force of nature. This woman she's young, she's energetic, she's got the vision, and she's got the drive, and she wants to help. I mean, can't thank her enough for being a part of this team.
Right. So just to repeat, if people are interested in volunteering, they can go to our website at www.sdharborpolicefoundation.org and click onto the volunteering button, and that'll take you to a quick little form that you fill out. And then from there, you'll be able to independently adjust the schedule when you're available, how many hours, which days of the week you can come, or you can do it online as well. The teaching will occur both on online and then in person. So we're really very excited about that and many other things to come. Who knows? Maybe this will be the cookie cutter for some other schools within not only San Diego Unified School District, but other areas where we have disadvantaged children.
We hope so. Thank you so
So
much, Jeff.
you're welcome. It's absolutely my pleasure. So, in addition to all this great stuff you do, what do you do? What does your life look like when you're having fun?
So my life having fun, this is what I do, and this is my fun, to be honest with you. I also have started playing tennis a little bit more, which I do that on the weekends, maybe on a Sunday. But this is my fun. The charity work, the philanthropic work is what drives me, and it gives me a lot of energy. So um, also, obviously spending time with my mom and my sister and my wife and obviously daughter. I have a 16-year-old daughter. Now she doesn't want to hang out that much with mom and dad. But I know a couple of years from now she's going to be out of the house, so that's for me exciting. I lost my dad a year ago, so
Yes.
one of the things, one of the regrets I've always had is just I was always working, just over the weekends, not going to Los Angeles. My mom still lives in Los Angeles, just wasn't there. So one of the changes I've made in my life is, what, I want to see my mom, so I'm trying to make as many trips to LA as much as possible, even if it's in the middle of the week where I just go for the evening and I drive back early in the morning hours again. I just want to be with her. So being present is something that I'm trying to do a lot more of than I did in the past. Um, but I love to read. I love to listen to music. So that's how I'm spending my time. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful every day for being alive. I'm thankful every day for having the opportunity to do things we do. I'm thankful for being able to, give back in my own small way. So, like you said at the beginning, I'm very lucky and a very blessed person. So, and
It's
meeting people
always a
like you.
balance, isn't it? That balance between your passion for work, your passion for give back, your love of your family, your mom, your father, who unfortunately passed away way too early. All of those things. But it's always challenging. I find that I meet a lot of, I guess you could call them influential or important people, and the ones who are able to find that emotional, physical balance are really the most successful. But it's hard work. You have to really think twice about. So do I stay and work an extra 3 hours and I don't make my daughter's soccer game or whatever it is, or maybe having a nice quiet dinner with my family or taking my wife out for a movie, something simple as that, or visiting with your mom. I mean, these are choices that people make, but the people that I consider to be part of the greater good, they make they make it all work. And maybe there's a book in there somewhere. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk to Mark and see if he wants to help us co-author a book on how we balance our lives.
I know. Well, I agree with you. I mean, there needs to be harmony, and that's, we're all trying hard to try to reach that harmony between our family, our social community, and professional lives. And I think, as we get older, this, we realize the value of that four-letter word time more and more, and that it
Mm.
just time doesn't have respect for anyone. It keeps moving. You got to catch up, and you got to be cognizant of how important time is. And so I think that's part of the thing. As again, I've reached my 50s now, so I'm seeing people, family members die, friends die, and get sick. So we realize, again, when we're young, human beings are primitive beings. We're primitive animals. It's just like,
Right.
last night I was holding one of my dogs who's 5 years old. She's a miniature poodle. And this dog, when she was 6 weeks old, she's in my arms. And right there, she adapts to the environment, and she's loving. But human beings take a long time for that neocortex to develop. And we don't understand the value of time. We just don't. I never had enough respect for it, to be honest with you. I maybe still don't completely understand it. But now that time is, it's still ticking by, but now I have a little bit more respect for it. And that's why I think, I'm even concentrating more on that, creating that harmony, and making sure I'm paying more attention to the people that I care about, one of them being you, that I'd make the time for those people. And I think that's really important because, Jeff, I'll tell you, there's a friend of ours who's a Holocaust survivor. I've told you about her before. Her name is Dr. Edith Eva Eger. And if people haven't read her books, she's written 2 books that are both New York bestsellers. One of them is called The Choice. It's an incredible book. And the other one is called The Gift. And they're both on Amazon. When we went to celebrate her 93rd birthday, I asked her, Dr. Edie, tell me about how does it feel to be, celebrating your 93rd birthday? She said, I've never felt any better because I've given up the need for acceptance from other people. And I tell that to my daughter who's 16 years old. I said, Natalie, once you give up that the need for acceptance from others, that's a time when you free yourself from other obstacles, when you break the ceiling over your head. And so I think, the age has helped us do that.
Right.
I want to tell you one other thing. One other thing, Jeff. Do I have time to say one other thing?
Yes, I have to look to Sarah. She'll tell me if we have time.
Sarah's going to tell this guy to shut up. Oh, just one thing. I want to tell you a quick story about how important, again, it is what you're doing with Perkins Elementary and all the other work you do. The importance of love and compassion. I went on a trip once with a family friend. One of my daughter's best friend's parents, actually, and the dad comes from nothing. I got to know the dad during on this trip. For the first 2 days, I'm asking questions. Tell me about your life. Tell me blah, blah, blah. Dad committed suicide. Brother was in prison for drug use. Sister just lived in a trailer, had a very difficult childhood. Wife, very different. Grew up with extreme wealth on private jets traveling to Europe back and forth, boarding school, all this. He said that both of us in our 20s had PTSD, severe anxiety, and depression. The wife's mom was an alcoholic. The dad was a workaholic. All right. So on the 3rd day when he and I were walking, we're in Vancouver. I said to him, it's interesting. You came from nothing. You didn't have anything. Your wife came from so much wealth. The only thing that was missing in that, and both of you ended up having mental health issues. The only thing that was missing there was that love and compassion from the parents. All right. So what we're doing in essence is not only, and that's why I want the listeners, if if you can, what we're doing with the reading comprehension, the reading proficiency, and all the good work that you're doing with Perkins and all the other stuff you do is we're showing love and compassion to these children because they need that. They need that when just imagine a child not, living from, from a sofa to another sofa, from a family's home to another home to a friend's home. It's just not the way children should be living. So we're providing that love, which is absolutely essential, regardless of everything else. All the money in the world cannot make up for what love does for those children's well-being.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. D. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this show. And if people are interested in watching this podcast, you can go to IQ Podcast with an S on many platforms, YouTube, Twitter, wherever, Facebook. And you can watch it over and over again and listen to the marvelous Dr. Sean Daneshmand. And thank you again so much for your time today. And I wish you only the best. And as we move forward.
Jeff, it's a pleasure and honor. Really, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you very much, and I look forward to working with you more and more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you again, thank you, all you listeners out there. Look forward to having you check in with us again on the Greater Good podcast with Jeff Wohler, sponsored by the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.